Is there anyone else you would consider collaborating with now in this?
I don't know, because I don't know if I've never run into anybody but Dave that I could do this with. So I don't really know. If I have never tried. This is a first. I did try with Mike once at Mike's house, and I gave him some of my lyrics. Instead of me keeping the lyrics, I actually handed the lyric over to him, and so he started playing, and he like sang a line or two, and he looked at me, and Mike Campbell and I are really dear friends. He has 2 tracks on this record, and he said to me, "Stevie, you look scared. I don't want to do this." And I looked at him, and I was almost in tears, and I just said, "I know. I don't know what to say. You know, I don't know how to do this." And he said, "It's okay. Let's just continue. Let's continue on writing the way we have always written." And so, and he always has 2 tracks at least on every record I've ever put out. So, and that's how he writes with Tom. He writes tracks, and he sends the tracks over to Tom's house. So the fact is that will I ever be able to write with anybody like I've written with Dave? I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you've done a pretty phenomenal job of surrounding yourself with the appropriately sensitive and intelligent people in order for you to collaborate and to work with people.
Right.
So
yeah.
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for people being in the right place at the right time, you know. This just happened to work out great. And I certainly wasn't expecting it. I didn't even expect him to read the poetry. So I was surprised that even happened, you know. And he said to me the other day, he goes, "You know, I was looking through the book of poetry." He goes, "You know, we only wrote 7 songs, and you sent me like 50 songs." So he goes, the amount of lyrics that we have yet to put to music are, you know, is astounding. If you, like, we're laughing, if you never write another poem, you don't have to, because it's all here. There's so much great stuff. And so I feel like I have really found a music soulmate in a writing music soulmate. And I also found somebody that is so much fun to work with. You know, sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it's very tedious. And sometimes you argue and you really get in each other's way, and somebody suggests that you like change a lyric, and your reaction to that is not in this lifetime. And it can get very ugly. And this experience was like, just every time Dave would drive up, you know, me and the girls and my assistant Karen and my goddaughter Kellyanne, who cooked for us dinner for 12 every night for a year. We would all, you know, meet Dave at the door when he was still just getting out of his car, filming him, laughing and screaming and jumping up and down, and it was just like like the circus came to town. That's how I imagined the whole thing. It was like my house just turned into a circus, and it was fantastic. We had 2 big, huge grand pianos, a big white Steinway and a black Bosendorfer in my entryway. The whole house is set up, you know, it's a big, huge house, and it's all set up as a recording studio, so that we had places to go and to get away and lounges, and we recorded mostly in the big entryway rotunda, and we only went into a big studio for 2 weeks. The whole rest of it was all recorded at my house. So it was just the most, and we filmed it, by the way, because 2 days into it, Dave said to me, "Oh, well, I think we should film this," and I'm like, "Oh, you know, I don't like to be filmed or photographed." And he said, "Oh, but this is going to be so fantastic." And I said, "Well, you know what, you're right." And I hearkened back for a moment to watching Tom Petty's 4-hour documentary and how much I loved it, and I could have watched another 3 hours if there had been that much.
Are you referring to the Peter Bogdanovich film?
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And
actually,
what I loved was the Traveling Wilburys thing, which was, they all looked like, you know, Wyatt Earp and the James Gang and Billy the Kid, and they just looked like these amazing kind of cool Western characters with guitars. And it was, you know, and it was George and Roy and Tom and Jeff and Bob Dylan. And the fact is that had they not filmed that, 2 of those men are gone now. And how sad it would have been if one of them had said, you know, I don't really want to be filmed. And we wouldn't have had that footage. And that footage will stand to teach kids for, you know, the next 100 years on what it's like to be a true, beautiful, genius rock and roll star. And so I looked at Dave Stewart and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to let you do this because I trust you.
Stevie,
I'm going to let you film this.
You just mentioned kids, and when I was a kid, and when you were still essentially a kid, you were on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and your music was everywhere. And there's a new generation of kids now, from Lady Gaga to Justin Bieber to Katy Perry. Would you have any advice for them in terms of their careers? And I know that management is a lot different now than it was then.
Well, music is a lot different.
Right.
I mean, just because they, so few break through, because the record companies don't have money, because the publishing is been, blacked out. The people that used to sell 1 million records don't sell 1 million records. The people that used to sell 5 million records certainly don't sell 5 million records. So all the money that the record people used to make that would go into artist development is gone. And so it's going to be very, very hard for any of these artists to sustain because of that. Because they're, the record companies who are in such a bad position now are always put in that position of, so who is the next Katy Perry? Because we need who's got the next hot single. And if you don't have the next hot single, and you're any of those girls, then they're eventually going to drop you because they're going to be looking for that next big single, because that's kind of what it has all become now in that more youthful generation. It's funny because after the Grammys, not this Grammys, but last year's Grammys, I went to a after party, and Lady Gaga came up and sat down right next to me, and in her Statue of Liberty outfit, and I have to say she just looked stunningly beautiful, and she said to me, sometimes when I'm working on something and I just don't know exactly what to do with it, I think, well, what would Stevie do?
Wow.
And I thought that was the sweetest of all compliments to say that, because she's a writer and she loves her writing. She loves to write, and I think that's always going to win out in the end if you're a good writer, because a good song, a really great song, is going to usually push through no matter what. So my advice to any of these people is really hone in on your writing craft. Don't try to not have to sing songs written by the people that you never see. The people that are writing in Nashville, the people that are writing in Los Angeles, that are never going to walk on a stage. But not that they don't, and they write the hit songs, but you know what? If you can write your own hit songs, you are certainly in a better position to still be doing this when you're my age, if that's what you want. If you want longevity and you want to still be working when you're into your 40s, 50s, and 60s, then you absolutely need to either have your own personal fantastic songwriter who never leaves your side, or you need to write your own songs.
In Your Dreams is the name of the upcoming CD from Stevie Nicks. It'll be out on May 3rd, and it's always great to have the chance to talk with you. I hope we see you this summer sometime.
Well, are we I guess we're not coming to Colorado, are we?
Not with Rod, but maybe there'll be another tour.
I will be straight as soon as Rod Stewart's tour is over. I think a week and a half later, my record comes out on May 3rd, and I'm pretty sure that I'll be thrown out on a huge press tour, or I'll be thrown right back out on the road, because my band will be completely rehearsed and we'll be on a roll already. So I'm sure we always do come to Colorado. So I will, and I love Colorado. I wrote Landslide in Colorado.
That's right. In Aspen.
In Aspen. And I have a very strong connection to Boulder, which is just a really quick story. When Rock a Little came out, or before Rock a Little came out, I was in Colorado on the road with Joe Walsh, and I was having a very bad couple of weeks, and he drove me up to Boulder, where he lived with his wife and his daughter in the early 70s, and his little girl was in a car accident, and she was killed, a drunk driver, and he took me up to this park and told me the whole story of what had happened to her, and took me to this park up there in your city and showed me this little drinking fountain that said, "For Emma, Kristen." And I was so touched by that I went home and wrote, "Has anyone ever written anything for you?" So that all came out of that drive to Boulder and walking through that park and seeing that little drinking fountain. That's my second ballad. I have three. I have Beauty and the Beast, has anyone ever written, and now I'm doing a new one, so that will be the third ballad. But so my relationship with Boulder is always front and center because of that moment that I had with that city that would cause me to write, I think, is one of my very best songs. And just the experience of being there for that couple of hours never leaves my heart.
And I think you should know that people talk about that fountain and about that song all the time, so people know.
Yeah, very special. And I loved Boulder. I said, I could totally live here. And someday maybe I will live there, I really found it a very enchanting city.
Thank you, Stevie Nicks. It's great talking with you.
You're so welcome.